All right, we are back. Hello. Yeah, this is actual number 5. So thank you for coming out and joining us here today. We're going to talk about Artemisia Gentileschi. She is the eldest daughter of Orazio Gentileschi, who we talked about last week. Let's pop over to this painting of her. So this is a self-portrait that she did of herself, and I'm just going to have this sitting here. See. LGM says he can't hear you. Say something, Bleach. Okay. Let me make sure that... Yeah. Okay. Good Lord. I know. Let me find my Discord here. Okay.
I'll just keep rambling until...
There we go. Now we're back. Now we have Bleach. Okay.
Good.
If we didn't have any problems, it wouldn't be going right. Okay, so anyhow, Discord lost the source when I just changed a different room. Anyhow, welcome. Go ahead and say your intro again, Bleach.
Yes, so welcome to actual episode number 5 of the Autist Circle. Audio hopefully will be included this time.
Yeah, okay. I think we're good. Okay, so now we go in. We're talking about Artemisia Gentileschi here. This is a self-portrait that she did, and just having this here for reference. She's, as you can see, she was not an unattractive woman. She was a very beautiful woman by all accounts. She was born in Rome in 1593 to Orazio Gentileschi. She was the eldest of 6 children. Her mother died during childbirth of her youngest child. Of the 6, 3 of them went on to be famous artists. However, her 2 older brothers, she was the oldest. She had 2 brothers right below her. They were not as famous as she was. It's very hard to find a lot of information online about them. They do have a lot of paintings and frescoes and stuff like that, but frescoes don't tour, so there's not a lot of work on it.
It's a little difficult, and I'm sure a lot of them were in private homes, so
yeah,
who knows what their condition is these days.
Yeah, exactly. So she trained with her father, and her first signed work was at the age of 17. It was Susanna and the Elders, which was a really popular piece at the time, or a popular theme at the time, another biblical thing. In 1612, she was raped by Agostino Tassi, who was an associate of her father. He had contracted to work on a fresco with her father, so they were collaborating on a big piece. And presumably, he caught her alone one time and then had his way with her. She went.
I actually pulled up. There's something on the Wikipedia about him, and what a sack of shit this guy was.
Oh yeah,
he's saying that he went to safeguard his honor.
Yeah,
her honor. And it's like, and then apparently he also raped his sister-in-law.
Yep. Yeah, through the course of the trial, it came out that the guy was just an absolute fucking dirtbag. And he ended up getting convicted. But he was a noble. And so he actually suffered no consequences whatsoever. He got his reputation got tainted a little bit, but he didn't really have any real consequences.
Probably lasting effects.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we are. Sorry, I need to kick over to the right screen now. So after that, after the trial, and the trial was crazy because like they have the transcripts from that now. They kept records of it. We have like the actual transcripts of the trial. She was her testimony was verified through torture.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, it sounds crazy, right? It was very common to do at the time for stuff like this, and so they put the thumb screws on her, and you know, she never recanted. So there's like, if she's not lying, she wouldn't lie about it with this, which was a common thing, right? Like, so it wasn't like she specifically was tortured. It was that they did this to people all the time back then. So after that, she married a Florentine painter named Antonio Stiatesi or Stiatesi. I'm terrible. I'm not Italian, so these words are like the most American. So it sound like Aldo Rain on from Inglourious Bastards. So she moved to Florence and started working there. And in 1616, she became the first woman admitted to the Accademia delle Arti del Disegno, which is another Italian word. Anyhow, it was a really prestigious art, like art academy at the time. And what it did was it allowed her to work more professionally and get a more professional reputation. So she was actually sanctioned to sell paintings, sell more artwork by joining.
Okay.
This. Yeah.
I find it interesting. So she would have been, what, 23 at the time, I think?
Yeah, she was really young. She traveled all over, but she worked for the Medici family, who, are still around today. She worked for them in Florence. She also worked in Rome, Venice, Naples, and she worked in London. So she, as you know, because her father was in London, she...
Yep.
So she was raised by a single father, which is, and she worked very hard to become a very talented artist. And I would like to think, as a father, a single father myself, that like how I'm just trying to imagine how proud Orazio must have been of his daughter to be so talented and so recognized. And I went into this thinking that I came into this thinking that this was going to be, it was going to be like this boss babe retelling of a really kind of underwhelming person, but that just couldn't be further from the case. She was actually a really amazing and accomplished woman. And I think her father was proud of her, very proud of her. And she was in London the year he died. So I would like to think that she spent time with him when he died. So with that, oh, go ahead, Bleach.
It's just, you're kind of like a one-off, but I wonder if this, the boss babe aspect of her is just basically that same crap that you get with, Abraham Lincoln is a gay icon thing, where it's just a modern interpretation that is popularized for politics.
Yeah,
seems
there is a bit of that
diminished to the actual art, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. And there is a bit of that, but because there is so much actual historical record, there's not much conjecture. There's obviously conjecture, but there's not much, like, they have a record of what she did and they have a record of her accomplishments, and so they don't need to like overinflate them, because she was really she's a very accomplished artist. And with that, we'll jump into one of her actually most famous pieces, which is Judith beheading Holofernes, or Judith Slaying Holofernes. As we talked about this before with Caravaggio, this is her interpretation of it. This was her first one. This was done in 1611, or as in around 1611, right after the trial. And
okay,
she poured. You can see she's still really, like, at this point she's like 20. right? She's still a very
Yeah.
she's an amazing artist, but she's still inexperienced, right? And still even, you know, you see a lot of her father's style in her work,
Mm-hmm.
which makes sense because he's the one who taught her, right? So she would naturally.
And a bit of that Caravaggioist influence there as well.
Yes. So she did this after the trial, and it's kind of like, and it was uncommissioned. She painted this on her own, unprompted. So further, just saying, like, this was one of her ways to express. And I can't say, maybe that it would be interesting if she actually had Holofernes look a bit like the other guy, the guy that raped her.
Tossi?
But I don't think that's the case. I think that
I don't know. I see a self-portrait of Tossi, and there are some hints.
Yeah,
but
it could be.
I will encourage the audience to go look that up on their own.
Yeah. I didn't put a picture of it in here. I probably should have included one, but I didn't grab one. But so this was very early on in her career, and you can see that, like, first off, I mean, the sword. The only thing in this scene that is a little weird to me, and it kind of jumps out at me, is the sword. The sword is not great in this one.
You mean the sword that suddenly is also part of the sheets?
Yes. So this one. So again, that's my only real complaint with this version of it, is that the sword is kind of bad. But and while I prefer Caravaggio's his composition of it, just because I like the display of his characters better, the cloth and the blood in this are so much more realistic. It's so good. Like, just the way the blood is running and the way the blood runs down, like, it's done so well.
And it's natural. It looks realistic.
It does.
It looks a bit like, you mentioned the fabric. That's clearly her father's influence too.
Yeah, 100%. You can see, and also, this is a bit more dynamic too, because the typical composition, Abra is not part of the scene, but in hers, Abra is very much helping. She's holding him down and helping to hold him down while she's doing the deed. So now, while we're going to talk about the content of the painting, I'm actually going to jump over to a later version. This is the latest. This is the one she painted in 1619 under the Medici patronage. And this one, you can see her style has evolved pretty dramatically. First off, you can see this blade
it's actually prominent, not part of the cloth.
It's so good. And then the spurts of blood, that just wasn't there in the first one, and it looks so much more dynamic.
Also, there's a little blood spatter not on everyone. That's an interesting detail.
Yeah. And like, subtle details. Like, look at this bracelet. Look at how the fine detail in that bracelet, and how, like, what I just think that's
you can actually make out figures.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah,
on it.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah. The look on their faces is so. She, I think, has a kind of somewhat similar look of the kind of not quite as indifference as the Caravaggio one. She has a bit more intent in this one. Still a little like distant from the deed, somewhat like repulsed by the deed, but she's definitely has an intent with it. The cloth in this version. Oh, go ahead.
It's an interesting, capture, because that's the, like when somebody has to put down a beloved pet kind of determination. There's a little bit of sorrow in it, with also a grim determination of, no, this has to happen.
Yeah.
Without the beloved pet aspect, of course.
Yeah. And again, she does a good job of capturing the realism of the hand, the pose of the hand, um, the way Judith or the Abra is holding him down, the blade, the blood. It's just so it's so well done, and just the way the blood is pooling along this creases in the bed, in the mattress. It's so cool. And
Well, and again, you see also kind of that refinement of the fabric and the clothing.
oh yeah, 100%. Like this velvet down here on the bed sheet,
Mm-hmm.
like it looks luxurious. You know?
Yeah, yeah, and there's also like the patches on Abra's sleeve, which
Yeah.
you don't see. It's like, okay, so she is a servant. Her clothes are patched.
Yep.
There's a
Yep.
slightly lesser, duller aspect to the fabric.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good catch on that. It's it it's a really good composition, and it's a really amazing piece of artwork. And it's from a little bit like the middle of her career. So this one's you can really see her style of figures, and then her ability to capture not just the light but the actual realism of the blood along with the cloth, and that single source light coming in. Like it really shows her
Yeah.
her talent.
Well,
And,
and something else, just to again, it's a small detail, but it's a very fascinating one. Holofernes' hand up near Abra's face,
mhm.
just the shadows playing in with the rest of the light angle is a amazing attention to detail from an artist.
Yeah, 100%. It's and it's one of the reasons why she was one of the most one a very sought after artist, a very accomplished and uh, a very talented artist. So, but she
Hmm.
did, and she did tend to do like the same scenes over and over and refine them, which we'll go into on the next one, the next slide. So this one we're going to talk about. The first one is Judith and her maidservant, in relation to the first one. In relation to Holofernes, we're just going to continuation on this theme. So this is her first version of it, and this was actually a copy of one of her father's paintings. As her father did this same painting in 1609, and she just kind of redid it in her own style. His actually is not as bloody as hers. You can see there's blood coming out of the head. There's a lot more blood on here. Obviously, because Orazio didn't do a lot of blood in his work. He was just
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was
Very
just
much a court painter.
he was, well, and that's why they liked him, because he was a really refined. You know why? Because he was a single dad who wanted to keep things nice for his family, who wanted to raise his
Hmm.
kids in a brutal world and not have them exposed to the brutality as much. So that's my own headcanon about it. So I'm, I'm going to stick with it.
You're not wrong.
So this is the first version of it, and this one is it's a really simple composition, and it shows the Chiaroscuro, or the Caravaggio Chiaroscuro darkness, the darkness of the composition and stuff. And then the her next version of it was actually, and you can see this is quite an evolution. So this is
She really started playing with the light, didn't she?
she did, and I think that she became very like just it's amazing because the way this light of the candle goes, and like there's the shadow on her head. Um,
Hmm.
Here's Holofernes' head down here. It looks very
Green.
similar. It looks very similar to um, her father's portrayal of Goliath's head in his
Oh.
David, reflecting on that.
Yeah.
So it looks reminiscent to that to me. Um,
Hmm.
But in a sense, like this Judith Slaying Holofernes is a bit of a David and Goliath story for women, you
Mm-hmm.
know, she because she overcame a much more powerful opponent. He didn't have to be a giant, physically imposing guy, but he was definitely stronger than her. And so she used the power of her feminine wiles to defeat them and save Judea. Um,
Mm-hmm.
this one was painted in between 1623 and 1625. You can see that obviously the Caravaggiste influence in it with the darkness in the background, the very real light. Like this candle, it's just amazing. Um, the play on that light, the subtle detail in her hand there. She's
And
shielding.
also, I would dare say a bit of self-insert, as Caravaggio would probably approve,
There,
only
there
with
is
her as
now.
Judith.
So it could be. I don't know if that looks much like her, but it could be. She did use herself in a lot of paintings, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't put any in this presentation, but there's quite a few of her putting herself in her paintings, and there's a good reason for that. And it's because I mean, artists or models were expensive,
Mm-hmm.
and so artists, use themselves to as models because models are expensive. Um,
Yeah.
so the next version of this is much later. These ones were painted. They'll have two of these, and they're very similar. But these ones were painted between 1640 and 1650. So, excuse me. Usually, right around the middle of the century, um, the middle of the century, 17th century, and very like she died in 1653. So this was
54. 53.
not too much longer before she passed. But this shows because it's so much later. I mean, this is 20 years later. You can just see the evolution of her style so much. So Abra she's different looking. And it's probably she looks like the model. But this candle, I think this looks it's so interesting and amazing, and the way that she changed that candle in that way with the actual like the kind of like heavily realistic flame to this more like brighter, whiter flame that I think it looks better from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at that from a distance, also it shows I mean you got the same shadow here, but then she has these really light bracelets on that are I think are really cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting little effect versus the original.
Yeah. Yeah, and the armor on the table here, this is kind of interesting because it's a suit of medieval armor.
Mm-hmm. So continuing with the Counter-Reformations, inserting biblical stories into the modern time.
Yep, yep. It's the big theme.
Hmm.
The Baroque Baroque period was the Counter-Reformation. That was the Catholic Church's full-on propaganda assault against. so this was the first version of this done, and they were both painted in Naples for patrons there. The next version, it's a little darker. Obviously, this picture suffered due to like the painting. The painting has suffered due to age, and this picture reflects that. But and then she goes back to the model looks somewhat different, and this is also the largest version of this. And then the candle is a little different, but we still see some of the very similar elements. The cloth there, the head is in a very similar way.
The bracelets are still present.
Yeah.
Now, it's also interesting that she went back to more of that natural yellow lighting rather than the stark white lighting.
Yeah, so it looks more like this one, which is very smooth. And to me, this shows like the stark, like the stark realism in this show. That's the Caravaggio influence.
Mm-hmm.
And then the softness and like the brightness of the roundness of the faces and the shadowing, that's her influence, that's her style. The cloth down here, the cloth over here, that's her style.
Yeah.
And
It's kind of interesting, seeing the evolution of, all of this, not just in, composition, but the style, because it's the one with the brighter, whiter candle.
yeah,
It almost seems like it's experimental in some ways.
it does, it does. Especially because there's a lot of headspace here. There's a lot of open space at the top here that this one definitely doesn't have, because the space is taken up by this drapery. And then this one doesn't either, because it's the third one, or the fourth one doesn't either. It has some, but I think this is adopting that kind of Caravagge's influence, and that it's showing, she's just got the dark composition, for the dark character focused composition. But yeah, she has her softness, the softness of her characters, and it's really, and I wanted this one because I think it shows just throughout the years how like she was obviously very talented when she was young, and had a very good grasp of painting, and was starting to come into her own style at this point. And then she hits something like the Judas, the 1625 Judith and her maidservant version, and it immediately shows like, hey, this is, like, look at this work. It's so it's so good, and it's so it has so much in it to really. Now I think this version is probably the one with the best perspective on the table here. All the rest of them, the perspective on the vase and the candle is a little weird. Like she might be just doing it somewhat by memory. This one, you can see the sheath on the table too.
Well, I just have to speculate on if these later two versions were just purely commercial endeavors, where the earlier one, so it was more something, passion. These other, the 1650s were more, she's got a good composition, somebody wants a copy of it, and she just makes it. I don't know.
So I've got a buddy that's a tattoo artist, and he told me, and he works in a college town, and he told me, it's like people coming in where it's like a whole group of dudes that are like, we want the same tattoo. He's like, that's a blessing and a curse. It's like, it's a blessing because it's so easy by the time, so 10 guys walk in and they all want the same thing. Well, the first guy, you charge him $100 for it, because it takes you, it's the first time you've done the tattoo or something, so it takes you like half an hour or something to do the little tattoo. And by the time you're on the 10th guy, you've charged them all $100 for it. But by the time you're on the 10th guy, it takes you like 10 minutes to do the tattoo, but you're still charging him for like the full hour of time, kind of thing. So, so in a sense, like painting the same thing over and over again is like a good thing commercially. And I'm almost certain that what happened in these ones was that somebody probably saw the original one, and we're like, hey, we really want you to depict this scene for us. We love how you did it in that one. Can you depict this scene for us? Now, they wouldn't say we want it exactly the same, and she wouldn't do it exactly the same, obviously. So she gives different versions of it, which was really, that's what they did. That's how they made their living, right? Like these artists were not the same. They I'm certain there were some artists at the time that were lived very like decadent lives and stuff. Um, she was not. She was not one of them. You know, her dad was working class basically. You know,
Mhm.
they were effectively blue collar painters. You know, working for, but 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 she gained enough recognition and notoriety to where, I mean, same with her dad. He was invited all over. She was invited all over. But she did very well for herself. Now, um, she did have, she had a couple of children. One of her children died when he was 4, and that hit her really emotionally. And so that, but she doesn't have any kids on record. Like there's no lineage to her today. So
Okay,
I'm
so
sure there
maybe
might
they
be
all
some.
died in
Yeah,
childhood or early adulthood.
yeah, yeah, or they just lost record of them. So she may have had some kids, but she doesn't have any um, surviving relatives today, by all accounts. So
Hmm.
so um, with that one, we will move on to the next painting, which is, let me find it here. There we are. This is another Annunciation, which was again a very popular theme for religious paintings. This one was painted in 1630 in Naples for the Spanish viceroy there. Um, and this one stands out compared to other versions of this painting um, because it really. So her. Say, I'm gonna move the icons over if I can find it. Ow, damn it! I have a cat over here scratching me. I'm gonna move us out of the way so we can see the painting a bit better. There we are. So
I like the detail of her
yeah,
name down at the bottom. That's amazing.
yeah, that's why I wanted to move it out of the way because yeah, you can see she signed it down here, and she signed and dated it 1630. Um, and you know, like sign, I don't sign any of the paintings I don't sign paintings when I'm done with them, and I
Hmm.
don't put a signature on a painting unless someone asks for it. And I don't want to sound like I'm not gonna sign like a wanker or something like I sell a bunch of paintings or anything like that. But but the few paintings I have sold, people have always insisted on them being signed. Um, for some reason, they want your mark on there. They want to be able to point at it and say, hey, look, it's from this person, right?
Yeah.
And truth be told, if more artists signed the front of their paintings, it would have done it would have made it so much easier to determine the actual
Um,
parent heritage of some of these paintings,
yeah.
because there's a lot
Yes.
of
Yeah.
paintings from then. They don't know who fucking did them. They have no clue.
Hmm.
Like it could have been one of a dozen Baroque artists at the time, you know. But a sign painting definitely is like it makes it yours. Um, and so this painting stands out in a lot of different ways. And I'm gonna say Mary's pose is very different than the normal pose. Normally, the Virgin Mary is standing up straight and looking very demure. Um, but in this one,
This
you
is
can.
almost a bow,
It is.
a courtly bow.
It is, and it's more of an acceptance, I think,
Hmm.
like um, to it. And there's again, there's the dove up here, and the little cherub heads. little baby heads were pretty, babies and baby heads with wings and stuff for cherubs. Those were often very popular in religious paintings.
Yeah, which I have never understood, because if you look at the actual depiction of the cherubim in biblical stuff, they're terrifying.
Yeah, but that doesn't play well with the crowd.
No, although decapitated heads with wings are a surefire winner, let me tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, Bez, that's a good point. Getting a real physical, you want it signed, otherwise it could just be a print. That's true. That's true. But another thing in here is the lilies. It's another
Yep.
one of the religious, captures a religious scene. The hand.
It's
Now her blessing gesture is again more. It shows it's more action, right? It shows it active in the thing, and she's in the process. And the halo, I think, is a really, like they all have a halo. More of them have a halo than not. A lot of the times they put a halo on Virgin Mary, because it's Catholic stuff. But hers is more defined than the one her father did.
Well, I'm just thinking back, because his version of the Annunciation is, while her head's bowed, it's the head, not like the whole body, like here with Artemisia. So it's an interesting juxtaposition, and also, if I remember correctly, it's kind of like a flipped state framing, where the archangel is on the left hand side, versus her father's where he's on the right.
Yes, that's a good catch, and I think a lot of them they have her on the right. I mean, they have it flipped, like a lot of them are the other way. But this is a really, I think it really highlights the Caravaggio influence here as well, in that there's not an elaborate background, or there's not really any background, and the painting. Like, the painting focuses on the elements, and it doesn't have a lot of fluff in it. It doesn't have, the draperies in the background that are all
overblown, and
I mean, the fine draperies and stuff. It really, because it's not like, in the story in the Bible, it's not like Jesus came to Mary in a luxury hotel, or in her bedroom or whatever. I mean, like, it just So having it minimalistic is a really good and interesting choice. You can still see that looks like a bedpost there. So
there is some form of drape in the background, but it's not as elaborate and prominent. Again, like her father's was, with that big red drape. I vividly remember that thing.
Yeah. So here the characters are more in focus than. I mean, they're in focus on his too, but the characters are solely the focus here, which allows you to then play with the elements of each character a lot more. And there's a lot of really great detail in them. Like the cloth is really good. Obviously, she's her father's daughter. She does really good cloth painting.
Yeah. That is remarkable. And I just pulled up Orazio's, and it's fascinating that they use the same color on the clothing for both characters.
Yeah.
And you can see there's that direct influence, not just palette-wise, but also with the layers of cloth. But she's got her own very distinct elements she's inserting here.
Definitely.
Certain actions a little different, things like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing that jumps out most for most people is the pose, and that's obviously first and foremost. That's like that is the most striking thing about it, is the pose. I really think the veil, the sheen of the veil, is really well done. Also, she's this really light, I can't remember what the cloth is called, but this really light sheer veil on her head instead of the heavy blue hood that you see on her a lot of the times. She does still have the blue robe and the red dress, and yeah, the colors are very similar, which would make sense, right? Because her dad taught her how to paint, and so
yeah, exactly.
yeah, and so he would have taught her and she would have learned from him, like, good ways to mix color, or ways to mix the colors right to get them to look the way they do, and and again, I'll go back to it as I'm sure this is another one of those paintings that, like, when her father saw it, was just like, damn, that's my daughter, And this was done. He died in 1639. This was done in 1630. So, so he would have had time to see this and probably hear about it. And this is one of the ones. This painting right here was one of the ones that really. She painted it to kind of compete with. She did it to show that she was as good as her male contemporaries in a way, right? Like, this is one of the, because she did have the pressure to compete as a woman as well, but she didn't lean on her femininity to compete. She stepped to the plate to compete and did a fantastic job of it. She's
definitely, because I'm really hyper focusing on the dove and the clouds and just the use of light there. That is such an interesting way of doing that pose, because with her father, it's like there's an open window.
Yeah.
And here it's just the dove coming out of nothing, essentially.
Yeah, it's descending from the heavens. Descending from the heavens to deliver the message of peace.
Mm-hmm.
That's the symbolism. That's what the dove's there for. So.
Yep.
So we'll go ahead. Actually, we got a bit more time. So I think I think that the choice to just do the heads with the wings is interesting, instead of doing like the full babies. It's an interesting stylistic choice that again fits with kind of the minimalism of the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a really great piece of work that did help her compete with her male contemporaries and helped her really establish herself as a painter of merit and record, and someone that deserves respect.
Well, I can also see, especially this piece, just kind of as a almost a competitive piece with her father, and not in a I'm going to go against him, but my father has done this piece, and this is my interpretation of the same scene. This is how good I am. It's very much a statement piece that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree. 100%. It's a bold piece that kind of was somewhat non-traditional, definitely non-traditional, and shows not only her ability to capture the light and the moment, but to experiment and give you a scene that is visually appealing. It tells a story and is very damn it, I'm trying to think of the word. It's visually appealing, and it's very man, I lost the word. Anyhow, so 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 anyhow, this is Annunciation, and this is currently on display at the National Museum of Capodimonte in Naples. So it's been in Naples the whole time.
Oh, neat.
So, with that one, let's go ahead and move on to the last one. And her last painting it's called Self-Portrait as the Allegory of Painting. It was painted in 1639 when she was in London, during her stay with Charles I. It's where her dad was too. So this was in 1639. So I would assume that this was, her father was 76. So a 76-year-old in medieval times was probably not having like the best times with his health. But
yeah.
So I think that she was probably dealing with her father's health issues or her father's ailing health while she was doing this, which to me it puts some more meaning to it. So now the painting itself is supposedly a self-portrait of Artemisia as the depicting herself as the female allegory of the female allegory of painting, basically is what it was. There's this book, Cesare Ripa wrote a book called Iconologia. It was a popular book, and it was written well before her time, because it was a very popular book with artists and in the art world, and it depicted various characters from Greek and Roman mythology and Egyptian mythology, and it also depicted a lot of people or a lot of themes as allegories, I would say. So the allegory of painting is typically it's a beautiful woman with messy hair. And the messy hair is meant to be a sign of like divine frenzy or divine inspiration that hits artists. She wears a gold chain around her neck with a mask that is supposed to symbolize imitation, and that painters imitate things. Typically, the painting, the allegory, she's depicted with her mouth covered or muzzled to depict the painting as a silent art. She has her sleeves rolled up to show that she works with her hands, because painting, again, was a blue-collar job, right? Painting wasn't seen as like some cushy application.
Because it's a very much of a
right,
like any artisan. And yes, they're highly skilled, like a stonemason who does fine sculptures for buildings, but they're not out there just living this artistic lifestyle of where the modern interpretation is they're just beatniks living up in their studio apartment. This is very much a laborious job in a lot of ways.
And even like, see, the thing with those beatniks is that they starve, and they starve because they're lazy and they don't work. And any work that they do, like, if you're like, there's the starving artist is kind of a real thing, and it's because art is not something that is easy to sustain yourself on, especially now. And it's because art is not necessarily valued by everybody, and even some of the people who value it don't see it as necessary. They see it as a luxury, which oftentimes it is. So another part of the allegory painting is obviously shown with the brush. So she's got the brush and palette here. And then usually she's shown with a gaze towards her painting, which I would say you do see here. Now, there's a lot to
Yeah.
this painting that I think. So I would like to think that she did this. She painted this painting of herself as a reflection on her own life as a painter in light of her father's waning mortality, and that she realized like how much of her life was painting, and how much of the painting that she got from like how much and I think she did this too as kind of a tribute to her father in a way that he wanted her to be a great artist, right? Like all fathers would. Why wouldn't? Why? And so she's really she's depicted herself as the allegory of painting. Like I am painting. Like and you kind of it's like it seems if you look at it on surface level, it's kind of like, oh, what a smug bitch. But that's not, I don't believe that to be the case at all. I believe that she has, that this is actually a truly introspective piece and not meant to be like a vainglorious piece. And the, so while we're there,
I almost have to wonder, was this a piece for a patron, or was this maybe a piece for herself? I'd be curious to see if that was the case.
I am not. I'll have to, because I didn't put it in the slideshow. I should have put it in the presentation so I knew who it was painted for. But I got so wrapped up in just the whole thing of the painting. So,
I did a quick look at the provenance, and
yeah,
apparently King Charles I had it at the royal court at some point, but and then it talks after that, but not who it was painted for. So
yeah,
that's interesting.
Oh, they still have it. They still have it in there, and it comes out on in display, so people get to see it. It's so one of the things that jumps out is her pose, because it looks kind of like, at first it looks like, oh, she's coming out of the painting. It's like, no, she's leaning around the painting. Now, how she painted herself, like, because like artists, they used models, right? And part of the reason they used models was because you gotta hold still. I'm trying to see this. You gotta hold still, and so she had to get in this position and look at herself, and she was so it's really like there's no real understanding of how she did this. She obviously had to set up mirrors or do something like that to capture this, to capture herself in this pose. And then, of course, another thing here, we're coming really close to the end. We got 5 minutes left. So another thing here I'll jump in on, I just wanted to point out too, is the sleeve, the fabric on the sleeve.
Just covered in paint. Yes, that is a fantastic detail.
Yeah,
because it's not just like it's smeared on there. It looks like it's from touching the palette, like it's brushed against the painting.
Yeah,
it's not a. It's a very deliberate.
Yeah.
It's.
Yeah, and it's a really cool detail. Another thing, the brown canvas. So now the brown canvas was that was a Caravaggisti thing, because he always started with a brown undercoat on all of his paintings. His paintings were all built, they were dark, and then the light was built up on top of them. And I think that's a kind of, a representation of the canvas here too. Is that dark canvas, and then she's going to start putting light on top of it. So now there is some speculation that this is not her, but it's called self-portrait. so it should be the self-portrait.
It could be one of those. It may not necessarily have been her as the model for the body, but
yeah,
probably the face. Yeah.
And this is the. Let me get it in here. This is the. Try to. Come on. There we go. Okay. This is the model. From the book. This is the figure from the book.
Mm-hmm.
This is the pittura, where you can see there's the gag, the face on the necklace, holding the brush with her sleeves tied back. You can see she's got the buttons there to hold her sleeves back. She's got the brushes.
And hellacious cankles, apparently. Good Lord.
It's a woodcut.
Definitely not a Dur, that's for sure.
Not a Dur. But yeah, so that's Artemisia Gentileschi. I think she has earned, properly earned the title as one of the greatest Baroque artists, and definitely one of the greatest female artists of all time. Like, I started into this not wanting to come out of this. I started in on this and on this exploration not wanting to come out of it with that opinion, but it's impossible not to. She's just a phenomenal artist.
I think it's one of those, because of the era in which we live. Someone like this gets propped up as some icon rather than someone who is extremely competent at their art.
Right.
And that unfortunately jades a lot of perceptions, because stupid people with stupid agendas are screwing up what should be something that everybody should get out and enjoy. I mean, I went through and looked at some of because they mentioned some of her art and locations, and there's a couple that I could probably go see in person, and I may just do that at some point. Because it's such a fascinating type of work, especially the cloth detail.
Right.
Her father and her have. You can see where there's variations, obviously, but you can see where there's that attention to detail that I just don't think enough people can appreciate that. Because doing simple folds of fabric seems like it should be easy, but I can only imagine capturing like that difference in light texture, and then you've got two masters of it right here.
Yep, it's phenomenal. And I would like to encourage anybody that has listened or is listening, if you can go out and see these works, do it. Go look at these Baroque works. Enjoy the art of the great European masters, because that is our heritage, and that is how their culture is what got us to modern times, right? And all the art now is standing on their shoulders, of these great masters of the past. Caravaggio, Gentileschi, both Orazio and Artemisia, Titian, Repin, Dürer, the ones we've talked about. They're phenomenal artists that I think really embody the European spirit and have helped capture the culture and move our culture to where it is now. So it's so I encourage everybody, anybody who can, go out and look at this art. You know, look at any art you can. As long as it's
Good art. Don't look
yeah,
at crap.
yeah, don't get played as shitty art. And on that note, I think I'm done. Do you got anything else to say here, Bleach?
No, just one kind of loops back to Caravaggio. It's like I think unfortunately so much of art as is portrayed as like either some hoity-toity cultural elite or feminine thing. It's like no, art should be accessible to anyone and everyone. And
Absolutely.
if it tells you a story, if it moves you, then you're looking at the right piece.
Yep.
And if it moves you to vomit, you're probably looking at a Jackson Pollock.
Oh, so that's it for us, folks. We just hit the hour. So so we're done. We will be back next week where we'll be talking about Titian, one of the greatest Renaissance painters of all time, if not one of the greatest painters of all time. He's a phenomenal artist, and it's going to be a great show. So
Yeah. So please tune in.
So, yep. Thank you, Bleach. Thanks, Trim, for the avatars. Both Bleach's and Trim's links are in the description here. There's a link to the presentation in the description here. Lots of bullshit in the description. Go check it out. Anyhow, that's it for us, folks.
Yep.
Peace out.
And get to an art gallery.